you start to realize how fucking easy it is to manipulate an entire population of 366 million people. It's not much harder than herding fucking sheep or goats or
Was
cattle.
it in the 1930s? There was a law passed that the United States government shall not participate in any type of misinformation propaganda campaigns directed at its citizens. And in 2012, the Obama administration and the freaking Congress that sat then repealed it. It is legal for the agency, the sister agency, the FBI, and the rest of them to put out intentionally misinformation, propaganda to American citizens now, and has been for 10 years. When was the last time you heard any congressperson? They didn't fuss about it back then. They're not fussing about it now. Just like the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Patriot Act, greatest pull of our freedoms in history. Signed by Bush II. A lot of other people don't know this. There's only 2 presidents in U.S. histories to suspend the writ of habeas corpus, the right to due process. George W. So he was the one that created the situation that allowed for locking up January 6 people with no process. George Bush did that. The other one, even bigger lie, Abraham Lincoln.
Really?
Oh, Honest Abe, probably the most closest thing we ever had to a Caesar in our entire history. He suspended the writ of habeas corpus. Now, at least with George W., it was directed at terrorists. Abraham Lincoln was locking up political opponents, representatives, senators, governors. If you would disagree with Lincoln, he would send generals to your house or military to your house, put you in prison, where you sat for the rest of the war, if they let you out at the end of the war. Lincoln, bro, one of the Republicans' greatest leaders of all time. It's a fucking lie. And, they're like, oh, he freed the slaves. Man, there's like 20 different letters that he wrote himself saying that he wouldn't if he didn't think it was the only way to win the war. He basically said, he was like, if I didn't have to free the slaves, I wouldn't. He's like, but this is how we win this war.
I didn't know that, the latter.
Yeah. One of the best letters.
How do you know that? Are you a history buff?
Yeah. Pretty much anything I watch, like YouTube, it's always history stuff. Like I spent the last couple months watching 1,000 years of Mongol stuff. All the wars in Europe, BC wars and stuff. That's what I've been interested in lately. But, I never did. I didn't care about politics. Never cared one bit. Hell, there was plenty of elections I didn't vote in because I was deployed or whatever, And being a military type guy, I'm like, hey, man, I work for the boss, and the boss is who the people elect. If that's Obama or Biden or whatever, that's the rules, man. That's what I signed up for. So I kind of just stayed out of politics until I jumped in face first. And it was just so eye-opening, dude. A lot of this stuff I learned during that time period. And the really bad thing is how available the truth is. It's not like you're going to see it on Fox News.
That's what I'm saying, though, Tony. There's a lot of truth out there. It's just nobody fucking takes the time to look. They're too busy watching foreigners review American cereal. And they're too busy watching reality shows of 16-year-olds meet up for a dating game. And that's just how it is. And
they were, you got to give it to the powers that be. And if you want to say liberals, cool. But if you think it's just liberals behind this whole pandemic and the push to take over, to subdue the entire world's population, right? It's not just liberals. It just happened to be. Because I think people forgot the vaccine was actually approved while Trump was still in office.
Yep.
And it's like people forgot that. I mean, he's supposed to be the guy that's going to save us all. I don't believe any one man is going to save this country. And it's sad that people raise a single human being to almost godlike status. That's scary to me, right? That's how Caesar became Caesar.
I'm glad you're saying this.
Yeah. I watched Donald Trump interfere in elections, in the midterm elections. He used his influence to interfere in elections, and in some cases didn't go very well, right? He did not have this big crazy, was it the red wave?
Yeah.
Because he endorsed Dr. Oz. Hell, he endorsed Dr. Greg Murphy, the guy I was running against. Tiny. But it's because Greg Murphy paid him for the endorsement. Everybody acts like
No
Donald
shit,
Trump.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Donald Trump's endorsements are not free. Oh, no. Not even close to free.
How much does it cost to get a paid endorsement from Donald Trump? Any idea?
I heard 1.6, but do not quote me on that. I don't know.
Were you just a couple 100,000 shy?
I was a little shy of that. And, it's
How
just
do you know
frustrating.
that?
So I had friends that worked for him,
Okay.
which was sad because he Joe Kent, Green Beret was running out in Washington State. Joe and him, he worked for him, and Trump backed him big time. But I couldn't really get looked at. I didn't have that kind of money, and I think Trump backed him on goodwill. I don't think Joe had to pay Trump anything. But it was funny if you watch when Trump never really announced that he endorsed Greg Murphy. Greg Murphy had announced that Trump endorsed him. And when he came to an event, it was like this cold handshake because Greg Murphy missed the vote for impeachment. So, and Trump's he's a loyalty type of guy from what I understand. But Murphy spoke out against him and some of the January 6th stuff and then didn't show up for the vote for impeachment and all that kind of stuff. So typically speaking, you would be like, I was almost confident that Trump was going to endorse me or at least stay out of it, which would have been my preferred option. But like I said, if you watch the way they interacted, it was cold. It was a bought and paid for endorsement. And it made a difference, made a huge difference.
Damn.
Because if Trump says something, people just believe it. They love that guy. And I'm not saying, clearly if you give me a choice, I got to vote between him and Biden. Duh, I'm voting for Trump. I think Trump is mostly, cares about correcting things, mostly, or at least the way he sees it. But I don't know, man. Re-elect no one. That's what we should be doing. Re-electing no one.
Yeah.
I don't care, right? Like if George Washington was reincarnated, shouldn't re-elect him either.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.